The players are actually waiting on us for once. That's quite a nice change. We'll say goodbye to our crew over at Watchpoint and get ready to jump into this one, Matt. Again, I think that's kind of one of the biggest topics, though, is that no one is underestimating Moth's impact on the Shock. And yeah, they started slow, but Moth's one of those players that played Lucio so much, and everyone is still like, this guy's a god, this guy's a really high impact player.
Well,
whereas FD God was all about getting those kills.
I think the reason why the loss of Moth is really talked about more at the beginning of the season, at least right now, is because of like the rush style of compositions we see teams running, where Moth was essential to the Shock when they were running those types of setups. Without him in the mix, you don't know how kind of FD God fills into that role. I also think there's a little bit of like, oh man, the Shock have lost so much with like no Moth. Like, FD God's a good player. Like, I mean, like, any team in the league, like, would have been, outside of probably, like, 2 or 3, would have been looking at FD God as an upgrade, right? So I think, like, the Shock, they obviously get themselves a really talented player back who I think gives them a different look in terms of Lucio. FD God, very aggressive.
I mean, now with the Valiant departing home shores and heading overseas, this is definitely about as California Clash as you're going to get. Oh. Here's your Los Angeles Gladiators lineup. Mira, Kevster, Muse Space. Now, Skewed comes into play alongside Shu, and some of you may remember Skewed, I think, from the OZ Gaming roster. I think he was with Geekstar beforehand. I think, a middling squad in Korean contenders. I think they ended up like 8th to 10th in their last sort of foray here, but you may be starting to think that we're getting double flex support play here.
Yeah, you would think so. So we get a look at Kevster here. Everybody's been waiting for the
face reveal.
Yep. Last season kind of ranks 25 out of 40 damage dealers. I think he's primed to have a season to really pop off. Kevster is such a tremendous player that you look at the Gladiators and it's like, okay, well, where are they going to really succeed? Like, what are people going to look at? And it's like Muse in space. You love that tank line. Skewed, Shu, Moth, the supports, like great support core. The DPS, I feel like, have gone a little bit under the radar for the Gladiators, with Kevster, Mira, and Birdring. We can take a look at the Shock starters. So some new faces for San Francisco in the starting lineup. You have Nero, comes over from the Guangzhou Charge, and then FD God in the starting lineup today. Super in as well, so you expect to see a lot of Reinhardt play.
It's such a fascinating story hearing how FD got to sort of transition into this role. I mean, he's tied for 6th out of 26, but look at Violet. That number under him, yeah. He is number 1. I don't know how... Look, Super's just...
Violet... Yeah, it's Violet, Choi, and Striker. Super didn't have enough time played, I believe, to kind of get ranked. I believe Watson runs off of like a time played, and he didn't have enough contributing time.
Right, we don't have his Genji stats, sorry guys.
Yeah, I mean, he probably would have been in the upper echelon of Genji players. But look, yeah, Violet, I think it was, it may have been either Avast or Johnny we were talking about. It's like, this season is prime for the Violet MVP. Like, he has been too good, I feel like, for too long now to not have gotten like one of those big regular season awards. They'll used to say the same for Smurf. We don't see him today, but Violet, we'll see how he goes here.
I feel like there was a sense of contrarianism as well because people didn't want to sort of pick a player from the winning team to get MVP all the time, and obviously Fleta had just an insane season, but we'll get onto that topic. That's another story here. Illios is going to be our first map of this series. Super comes in for San Francisco, where, I mean, we may be surprised to see that given that Smurf, I think, is got the best Winston stats in the entirety of the league, and we can sort of delve into that a little bit more later on. But we'll be back on Illios here. Yeah, we were just here, of course, in our previous series between the Outlaws and the Fuel, and this is where it begins now, and it's California Clash. San Francisco take on the Los Angeles Gladiators, and historically, this has actually been a franchise lead for the Gladiators. It's 5-4, but last time these two teams played, it was a 3-0 sweep by the Shock. They were looking imperious. They were looking dominant. Let's see if that form continues now, because Los Angeles Gladiators are looking better than ever, Matt.
They are. It's a team that is... They've always been like in the running, but you never really kind of talked about them as a serious like title contender, I think, going into some of the seasons. This year, though, for sure. I mean, you expect this roster to be high up there, as we'll get our first look at Muse in the Overwatch League, as the Shock, they'll come out. Super on the Reinhardt, fully expect that when he's in the mix, is the Violet on the Batiste. So a little bit of different in terms of what they're going to run. Is this a Soldier 76 sighting? Okay, so Look, a lot of pressure with Soldier. He gets some changes in the Overwatch League off-season. Right, he doesn't have the spread anymore. It's really kind of controlled by recoil.
I can't believe it.
POV, but this is interesting. A lot of just consistent damage for the shot.
Well, it's also, it's an Echo hate composition as well. There's double hit scan here. Quite different to what we saw from the Dallas Fuel. A little bit tough for Mirror to play safely here. He's going to have to try and get out of sightlines as often as possible, but it's the Shock that have the more passive positioning now as the Gladiators take the point first.
Yes, I mean, they don't want to, they don't want to play on the point, the Shock. They want to have these hit scan play at range and have somebody end up getting a pick. Somebody goes a little bit too deep for the Gladiators and they burst them down.
Striker there as well, playing a little bit on his own, and there it is, FD God already an environmental kill to his name, and that is a smug smile for one of the newest additions to San Francisco now, as they got a bit of aggressiveness in the back line, and with a rush composition, that's exactly what you need.
So this will probably be a little bit harder now for the Gladiators to get onto the point with the double hit scan set up. Nero able to take the high ground, Striker can play on the low ground. If you focus one of the hit scan, the other one just goes uncontested for a bit of time. Able to just kind of burn through the bubbles and whatnot. There goes Nero taking out Mirror right away. So gonna have to wait a little bit here for the Gladiators to get another good fight.
These Echo compositions don't use Mercy, right? It's much harder for Echo to deal with consistent poke damage, as Shu needs to get line of sight on Mirror, and Shu would otherwise prefer to be probably healing Muse or giving a nano boost or using a bio grenade. So tough for Mirror to really do what he wants to do safely now. And San Francisco, I mean, big ultimates on the line here. Tactical Visor actually very relevant against this lineup here, as that pulse bomb from Kevster gets rid of the immortality field, but ultimately doesn't do much more than damage to the Diva.
Oh, and so smart from Choi to go straight up in the air. Almost could have killed Nero there. It'll be attack visor from Nero, but he gets slept there by Shu, so not going to get anything.
Sound barrier here for FD God, and Violet needed it. He was clinging to life just barely now, as the Shock play very compact here, very much a death ball setup, but once some of those key components of that composition start to fall apart, then the Shock really struggle to stay in this fight. Jacoba now has an opportunity to stall the point for a little bit longer, and he'll get to 70%. Especially with that mini Diva, keeps it alive a little longer. And now it's San Francisco who need to advance, and Mirror now has the option to play from some more annoying sidelines.
So Super steps on a point here. He'll have a Shatter, where I think you're really just kind of looking for a solo Shatter at this point. They break the bubble on Muse. He's going to use Primal Rage and go in.
All right, where's the rest of the Gladiators, though? I mean, you can see, I don't think Shu has line of sight right now on him. So Muse, yeah, playing a little safer. Graviton Surge also assisting there, so both tank ultimates being used for the Gladiators, and it buys them a decent amount of time, gets them some space as well, but eventually the Shock are going to come home to roost, and the Gladiators, without any real shields, it's just two bubbles, need to be wary of a Super Earth Shadow.
And it's very difficult, I imagine, to play the Winston against this type of composition. You want to get onto the McCree, the least mobile of the heroes, as Kevster connects to the pulse bomb there. Striker almost kind of jumps onto it. But if you go onto the McCree, you're dealing with a Batiste, you're dealing with a Reinhardt as well. A lot of damage for that Winston.
Oh my! That was beautiful. Obviously, the Fire Strike there helping a lot. Nero really, makes his Batiste much more of a valuable pick now, because that amplification matrix takes on a completely different aspect. Another environmental kill for FD God. That is 3 so far in this round, and he is really showing up. There may have been doubters, I may have been one of them, but right now he's silenced every single one of them. San Francisco look to retake the point now, and it'll be one fight territory for the Gladiators to try and retake, and Mirror has to advance through fairly open sight lines.
He's just a much different Lucio player than Moth is. FD God, just way more aggressive, going for kills, a lot like Li Jaegong from the Shanghai Dragons. This will be the final fight, pretty much, of this map, as Nero this time has the attack visor on the high ground. Let's see if he can use it and not get slept.
5 ultimates here for San Francisco. Crucially, a sound barrier, now tactical visor for Nero. Moves forward, that defense matrix is going to be depleted awfully quickly, and Super steps up. It's a pretty much a home run for a Shatter. Striker doesn't need too much value from the Deadeye, as much of that has already been gained. He has to roll back. Defense matrix protects him from the Kevster, who's desperately probing for some kills. Violet goes down, but it's too little too late for the Gladiators, and the Shock, with quite a wacky composition for this kind of map, they take things here on well.
I mean, not what you expect. A Soldier McCree comp. I can't even think of the last time we saw like a soldier alone, but like double hit scan type of setup that didn't include like a Widowmaker in the mix. Really interesting there. That's going to be 5 environmental kills for FD God in that first round.
Reinhardt hates playing well against, environmental kill potential. Definitely against like Wrecking Ball, Orisa, for example. But I mean, the Gladiators are playing double bubble with just the Brig, really, with that, and maybe the Diva for environmental kill potential. I guess that Winston in Ultimate. So, providing they play on the extremities of the map, it looked like Super was able to stay safe and not worry about getting knocked off. And FD God, I love that he's being allowed to play his way. Krusty hasn't just turned him into another, shock jumpsuit wearing clone. He's able to be himself here, and he looks so good doing it.
No, I mean, if you're going to bring in FD God, you're going to have to adjust a little bit.
Well, that's why you brought him in.
He is fantastic out, right? Interesting to see Striker not play Tracer here. Striker, one of, if not the best Tracer in the world, with an opportunity to take a Tracer battle against Kibster. They opt to play Ashe and go for more of a high ground. Looks to be like a little bit more of a slower type of play.
This seems to be, give Mira a headache composition as much as possible at the very least here. Bear in mind, neither of these Echoes sort of have, accompanied by Mercy. She's just not meta right now. And there goes Mira, straight down. Choihoben's able to finish the kill here. I think Nero stays alive if he gets high enough in the air. Nice work by Shu to complete that kill, but that leaves it open and Super pounces.
That'll be both supports. Is Shock able to keep their supports alive during this fight? As the Gladiators, they didn't really need to kind of go up there and constantly challenge. They could have just kind of, but they would have actually just gotten poked down. They kind of have to at that point, right? I mean, if you would have just kind of sat on the low ground and waited, you would have given Striker prime position to get set
what does
up
Mira do if you take the low
really
ground?
Do tons
you know
of
what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can't do
Presents
anything.
himself as the lone target, just like floating tranquilly through the air until his head gets blown off. Uses Primal Rage, like that one,
That doesn't sound
Suspension
good at
of disbelief, baby. Primal Rage available here for Super, on the Winston, by the way. All right, big fan. And the Shock really try and contain this courtyard as much as possible. FD God with a sigh has had to go over to the Brig in this round, but still definitely gets to do some aggressive things. Musa's already gone down, so this aggression for the Gladiators is just a bluff. Eventually, they're going to realize they'd have nothing to work with no Winston.
And beautiful play there from Choi. Able to keep the supports alive as Mira was using the duplicators. That is a nano used onto the Brig, I believe. Doesn't get much of anything. As I believe, Skewed was already very low before that, but Shock looking in control here. I was saying before, Choi ends up going back using the defense matrix, keeping FD God alive specifically. And Mira got nothing out of his duplicate because Choi just did a great job defending his supports.
San Francisco, they lose Arnzan Sniper and they lose Rascal in the off-season, but they still have so much flexibility in the DPS position, apparently. Nero's duplicated at Winston, and this, I'll avert your eyes. It's about to get pretty ugly now in the small room. Nero on the juggle. Trying to chase down Kevster, who has to recall, otherwise he goes down to the Primal Rage 100%. Now Nero returns to the point. The Shock is still in charge. 87% to 30. The self-destruct will buy some time, and with Violet going down, that is a glimmer of hope here for the Gladiators. Nero soon follows. Choihoben's hit with a biotic grenade, and finally the Gladiators get back in control.
We touch on it for a second. You mentioned they lose Once in the off-season. Once retires. They gain Nero and Glister, though. I mean, it's pretty fortunate when you're like the best team in the league for 2 years and you can just go to players and say, hey, do you want to come win? Yeah, a lot of players pretty attracted to that. Now we get to see Striker here on Tracer.
Use nano boosted for a time, but really can't do too much. And the sticky bombs just punish him in the corner still. Mira's able to reciprocate and get rid of FD God. Super's Primal. Oh, looks like that one's blasting off again. 73%. The Gladiators, put this into one-fight territory now, and the Shock have to use some of these abilities here. Super uses Primal for nothing.
Yeah, not able to get much with it. Kevster with a Pulse Bomb, a few other ultimates available for the Gladiators in this next fight as the Shock trying to get control of this high ground. And maybe somebody comes in, they're able to get a big Biotic Grenade from Violet. This looks like, though, setting up a Nano Boost potentially on the Super.
In, and bonk! Gets put in jail. You know what kind, chat. Pulse Bomb gets thrown on FD God there. but it's going to be traded out here, and the Primal Rage on the point for Muse. He'll be able to force Super away, who's hit with a Biotic Grenade. The Nano Boost was a good way to start the fight, but great whip shot from Skewed to make it half a Super to find his target. Violet goes down now, and Nero's just going to get ruined, and the Gladiators, they're going to make this one competitive, Matt. They're going to make it interesting. One apiece on Illios.
So they're not really able, the Shock, to make that Ashe Echo combination work. I would have loved to see them play. Look, at any time that you can put Striker on Tracer, you would love to see that. But it seems like, at least with the composition of the players they have in now, that if you're going to play long-range hit scan, it's going to be Striker the one that does it. At least for this point so far. Striker hovering over the McCree. I wonder if they bring out the Soldier again? Because they bring in the Batiste here and the Lucio. This is the same kind of composition they ran with the 76.
I mean, theoretically, your Vantage is just as good on this map as any other for Soldier, or at least just as good as a Well. We'll see. Yep, the legs are locked. Nero is out the gates.
A lot of open space around the point, where both of these hit scan providing just so much consistent damage can just push you back constantly as the team who wants to be the aggressive one in terms of the Gladiators.
Striker playing pretty far forward, generally speaking. Really, again, wants to make it so Mira has nowhere to go. That's why he's playing on this left-hand side, so we can just see as much of the map as possible. Bubble given to Muse. He dives in, takes it. Whoa, my! Takes a ton of damage, and Nero finds the headshot finish on him.
Ryan Hammer, 76, the flashbangs, the McCree damage, Batiste, Immortality Field when he's going in. I mean, that is a lot to deal with. I mean, Kevster now goes over to Ashe, so this will give him, this will give the Gladiators like a long-range hit scan option, where the Ashe can play at range and just out-damage, you know, McCree and 76 at that long range.
You can also set up dives with this Dynamite as well, right? You get a good connection, and then Muse feels much better about diving in. It really taxes the healing resources of San Francisco. Nano boost there, given over to Mira, in fact. Nero staying safe for the time being, but he can't save Super.
That was probably meant for Muse going in. I don't think they, I don't think they meant to nano the
unless
Echo
they think there's going to be a Reinhardt duplicate, and then you have someone that can really trade with Super and pressure like that, get a shatter early, but benefit of the doubt.
I mean, they dove left side over towards like the 76. This will be Attack Visor coming
Nero,
in.
danger.
For Nero, as he gets really
great
low.
healing though. I think Violet's, Immortality Field wasn't online there, so great job to keep that Soldier up. Now the drone is available. Might need to be used for Super here. Muse looking dangerous. It is the Gladiators in control of the point right now. Strike is sleeping on the job presently, and that's a shatter from Matthew Cashew Delissi. The charge was almost perfect. Muse is knocked away, but in the meantime, Scooter's gone down, and the Shocker back in control. Very late on this Graviton Surge, but it is good enough. Deadeye used in the background by Striker does very little to dissuade the Gladiators from going for a re-engagement late in the fight.
It's a mirror. There's a celebratory duplicated self-destruct down towards the Mega, but yeah, the Deadeye is really to just try and push them back, deter them pushing through, doing damage in the grab, but Super and Co is so low, being stuck in that Graviton Surge. Nero working his way up towards another Attack Visor. This will be rally to open things up from Skew, as the Gladiators now pushing the pace.
Super going down, and there's that Dynamite to start the fight off, and you can see the engage is straight on the back of that. Losing Super as well meant San Francisco couldn't really prevent the Dynamite from hitting and exploding on them. An Attack Visor here from Nero. Doesn't really seem to find a mark. They get rid of Muse. There's an Ant Matrix in the way as well, but no one for the Gladiators was far enough forward. Still, Matt, Bobby's down, and the way is clear for the Shock to move to the point.
Yeah, and they kill Muse there, so you get rid of the main tank for the Gladiators. Nero, beautiful track and taking out Mirror up in the sky. So the point will flip back towards the Shock. How do they adjust to be able to hold now? They don't have any ultimates to work with. Primal Rage and the Nano Boost coming online here for the Gladiators.
52% and counting, and the Shock have put themselves in a... Well, they need to deal well with this dive that comes in, right? You mentioned Nano Boost, that gets put on Muse. He dives straight on in. How does San Francisco respond? How do they make sure they keep everyone alive? Muse cannot find a kill here. Otherwise, the map's probably over. Here it is, gets a bubble, everything given to Muse. Look how low Striker was here. Muse only took 100 damage, and yeah, what are you supposed to do about the Electric Monkey in your backline? Very comfortable cleanup for the Gladiators here, puts the Shock in dire straits.
with Primal and Nano, it puts so much pressure that the Shock are not able to have the luxury to kind of just ignore him or really burst him down. They have to all turn and deal with him. That allows the rest of the Gladiators to push up, finish those players off. They'll be super on the Wrecking Ball here to touch.
Super on the Wrecking Ball. He's having to touch the point, keep it going here. Focusing Beam doesn't quite find a killer. Mira tries to duplicate it. Batiste gets shut down, and this might be the Shock trying to come back into this fight, but Muse has found two, and that's both supports down to his hand. Striker has no choice but just to push forward, try and go all gas, no brakes. He hits the flash, but gets taken down straight after, and this is what it looks like when you have no healers. The San Francisco shop, their outer options are out of time, and the Gladiators will take the first map in this California clash.
Oh, this is going to be a really good series, I feel like. That's so interesting to see the McCree Soldier combination here to kick things off. For the Shock, they also play the Batiste with it. Really just a lot of damage, no survivability with the Reinhardt too. Interested to see if this carries over into any other maps or if this is just Illios specific.
Now, Muse was hyped up as a big ticket player, and I mean, he looks very, very good. A lot of resources invested in him. You see, he gets a Zarya bubble, a nano boost. He puts his own bubble down straight away. But this tank-centric meta right now seems to suit a player like him very, very well. Map 1 goes over to the Gladiators here. A chance for Shock to fire back on the other side of the break.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest and fastest 5G network. Set your sights on the competition with T-Mobile.
A good day of Overwatch. New York kick things off with a bang.
Tuba, Vince doesn't get rid of Masa.
Come on.
He'll get rid of Kodak. Do I see a Hawkeye? Do.
Oh, wait, what? Are you serious?
What's that? Oh dear. In the block. That's the dead eye.
No. Unbelievable.
Yeah! Come on! I don't believe what I have just seen. Raw. That is absurd.
That is exactly what the doctor ordered.
And despite their best efforts, the Chengdu Hunters are Chengdan.
Yeah! Due to Decay, he's charged up. There's another graviton surge. He doesn't even need it to connect. He'll fall by the hand of a former comrade. And 2 Decay.
Hey stock footage friends, I'm having trouble leveling up in my ranked games. What do you guys suggest? Signed Guy, working on laptop, at coffee shop.
Young student, a portable personal computer here. Have you tried new skins? Maybe that will give you the confidence you need.
Busy Doctor here. I think I've got just the prescription you need. Overwatch League Perks by T-Mobile.
That's right, King. With Overwatch League perks, you can instantly connect your YouTube account to your Battle.net account. You can spend your tokens on legendary skins as well as earn new sprays and Overwatch League skins for tuning into tournament matches. With Overwatch League perks by T-Mobile, you'll slay your ranked games, giving you more time to do the things you love. Like eating a hamburger, shirtless, at your computer. Or eating a salad with your bare hands, shirtless at your computer, or eating a whole turkey leg, also shirtless at your computer. Overwatch League perks by T-Mobile. They make everything better.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Coca-Cola. the official refreshment of the Overwatch League. And by IBM, the official cloud and AI partner of the Overwatch League.
Here I thought I was making some gains in the offseason. Brennan Hook again upstages me. All right, what's new?
Yeah,
I tell you what,
looking good.
I mean, if I could eat a turkey leg like that, I'd probably get put in stock footage as well. I mean, here are your power rankings with IBM Watson. This is your overall players from the 2020 season. Violet, Smurf, Troy Gobin, 1, 2, and 4 for San Francisco. Violet considered by Watson the best player in the world. It's hard to argue with that, man. We talked about, gotta be an MVP consideration here, but he wasn't enough to make the difference in Map 1.
No. I do think it's interesting what the Shock were trying to do strategy-wise. I do think it's actually quite valid. I'm interested to see if we have them run it again as the series moves on. We do have some subs here for map number 2. It'll be Birdring making his first appearance here, taking Mirror's spot in terms of the damage dealer. And then Moth coming in for Skewed. So we expected Moth to be a central big part of the Gladiators. We get to see him here in the second map.
Hit scan DPS and Lucio player or main support at the very least here. So that should be a decent teaser as to what to expect from the Los Angeles Gladiators now. And I mean, Moth was, it's safe to say, a huge part of San Francisco's success in the 2020 season. I'm sure seeing him on the other side of the map for some fans must be tough. But hey, the Gladiators, like I said, they aren't messing around. They are here to win championships, and this is how they start. Winning Illios 2-1, and Eichenwalde comes up next, and can expect to see maybe some Ash play or some hit scan in general as Birdring is in the server.
Well, you also think with Moth, if you're going to leave the Shock, you're not going to leave to another team that you don't think is on the cusp or can't get there, right? So when he joins the Gladiators, it's obviously a blow to the Shock in terms of losing the player, but it's a little bit of like a, oh, does he think they're better than us or like can get better than us? Like, what's the idea behind it?
It's kind of insulting, I guess, for his own teammates, yeah.
You know, a bit, right? Because I mean, you're back to back. Everybody, you're crushing, right? There's really not much of a reason to kind of go. And I think Moth, obviously, you don't know what happened during free agency and whatnot, but to pick the Gladiators and to go with them, and they look to put together a very strong team. It has to be a real threat to the Shock this year.
We saw the tease of the Soldier 76 from Birdring. Now, whether he'll stick with that or not. Kevster, huge on Illios. 10 final blows. Pretty crucial considering that Muse was getting much of those resources. So Birdring switches over to the McCree. We don't know what to expect from the Shock yet. Nero obviously played a lot of May. Definitely prolific May player. From Striker, I mean, the Doomfist would be less expected. We should expect to see them. Yeah, I kind of like this. We're going to get pretty similar, in fact, identical team comps out of the gates.
Yep. This is your rush. we'll see it now. May for both sides, Lucio for both teams, the Immortality Fields, Reinhardt in the mix. So we saw him just play the Winston at a very high level. Let's see how he goes up against Super in the Rhine battle as Maywald's launched Super over the top.
Definitely a rush composition there, and even look at that, even the Immortality Field's not enough to save Muse. That's a disastrous start to this fight for the Gladiators now. Chokyoban may be desuited, but he'll have that mech back in no time, and quickly Moth speeds the Gladiators off the point. They say, we need to have Ryan here. We're going to give some percentage to just try and get him back into the fight.
Yeah, I mean, you lose your Rhine, it's so tough, as that'll be Space who gets on to contest. Nice Maywall there from Nero, almost blocked Muse from get back to the point.
Immortality Field had to be deployed there to keep Super alive, and again, Super capitalizes instantly on the Amp Matrix and throws a Fire Strike. That's 100, well, that's 200 damage rather, straight to the face. It's very, very hard for Muse to deal with that kind of burst from an enemy Reinhardt. FD God, he's hunting. Looking for the McCree, juggling now. Birdring gets himself some health, and that's classic FD God, and that's what he brings to this roster. It's a messy fight, and the Rhine returns, but Muse essentially finds himself with Moth only, and Moth is lucky to be alive. He went for a sound barrier in mid-air and wasn't picked off. Still, though, that's not enough.
And those are the plays that FD God is going to bring to this team, that You know, for how good Moth is on the Lucio, we didn't really get to see from Moth that often. Those aggressive plays, you know, hunting down the McCree, hunting down, you know, players trying to exit. So that'll be the Shock who take the point, take control of the payload. As both teams are going to have some ultimates coming into this next fight. We'll see if the Gladiators probably set up on the high ground, maybe with this McCree. You know, drop low with the May and the Rhine, and maybe let the McCree get the Deadeye, kind of free fire from above.
Muse drops down. Here's the Blizzard, though. He walks straight into that one. The Deadeye going to be coming out here from Birdring. May have just been to reload now as he's challenged on the high ground. He drops down, but again, Muse is the first pick here for the Gladiators. And when at their right hard, it falls apart when Striker comes to collect.
Yeah, you're going to be... Look, in Rush, it's very difficult when you're going to lose that Reinhardt right away in these fights. The Reinhardt is your battering ram into the other team, speed him up, get him in, let him swing. As long as he doesn't get stunned and, you know, just bashed like crazy, he's going to do tons of damage. See what the Gladiators decide to do now. Looks like they're going to rotate high ground, potentially. They don't have enough time to. Yeah, they double back. They wouldn't have had enough time to catch them under the bridge. They have to take the fight here.
And Matrix for both sides straight away. Muse had to keep his shield up until he got back behind that May wall shatter. But Ted interrupted by the Blizzard, if I'm not mistaken. He's not able to quite drop the hammer as he would have liked to here. And this has been awfully one-sided so far, Matt. Another checkpoint here for San Francisco. And the Gladiators seem to be listless.
Yeah, Muse gets absolutely nothing with the shatter. Believe it was stunned by something. I don't think a Striker was close enough. We'd have to get a replay. Striker was on the middle of the bridge. Maybe he was a little bit closer up. Got the flashbang in. There's a May wall in the mix too. Potentially could have blocked some of it, but yeah, the Shock are just rolling right now. You have Shatter and Blizzard here for this next fight. Could be bad news for the Gladiators. A really good time potentially here for the Shock.
No shot, says Trickobin as the Deadeye from Birdring falls by the wayside. And now the Shock crack back again. This is 2020 Shock. This is championship winning Shock that we're seeing here. They look extremely well oiled, whereas the Gladiators look like they're glued to the floor. 4 minutes and 10 seconds on the clock. What an absolutely blazing pace.
Deadeye here. Striker gets a little bit of a speed boost. Moves past the M Matrix, but doesn't even matter. Super with a Shatter knock space to the ground is... this is going to be the Shock completing the map. 3 minutes and 57 seconds in the time bank. Sprinting through the map there. Gladiators with absolutely no defense whatsoever.
Matt, you wondered, you know, do we see a similar composition to what we got on Illios? Right, the Soldier 76 looked pretty good, but Nero goes over towards the May, and that is bad news for Muse especially. The May walls for the Shock, very, very good. It's Nero that sets up the first kill of the round onto Muse that allows, you know, the Shock to pick off the enemy Reinhardt. And this reminds me of what San Francisco were able to do in the grand finals last year. Isolate and sort of focus down the enemy team's main tank and then win off player and positional advantage as a result. Muse is getting focused down.
There's also a part of the Shock which, like, you know, they're back-to-back champions, but I feel like coming into this season, like the talk, obviously the talk is about so many other teams because they've improved their roster so much. But still, there's probably a part of the Shock. It's like, well, why aren't we getting, you know, even more love, right? Back to back. You know, the Shock, although they lose, you know, Moth and Rascal, like you mentioned, you know, adding FD God, Nero, and Glisters, like, huge additions to this team.
I think as pundits, we're pretty contrarian as esports folks sometimes, though. Especially, I think, like, look at the Streisand effect in esports, right? It's such a... Look, it's death taxes and guarantee that people will gravitate towards, you know, the less cool thing, quote unquote. Maybe that's why so many people thought that the Shock wouldn't be able to carry through last year's results. Either way, they look good right now. Still a whole map to play.
So, see how the Gladiators attack here goes. Go on board with Moth. Not a great start for Moth on the Gladiators, right? Not in map number 1. Map number 2 he comes in. They get blown out here. It's Maywell early there from Nero. So now the Gladiators, they speed out. Now they are able to get the attack going.
Super! Somehow, you know, broad as he is.
A little crack in the wall.
Just slipped straight on through there. Must have been oiled up in the break. Nicely done. Muse, also a little low. Okay, so Amplification Matrix here. This Maywell will get taken down pretty quickly, but FD God is removed by Shu. What can Violet do from this position? Sits back. Amped healing going over towards Tricobin's direction now, but it's a brawl on the point. Great freeze coming out there from Kevster, and the Earth Shatter from Muse is definitely gainful. The Gladiators look very good when it comes to attacking here as well. San Francisco very quickly have to get back in the saddle.
Well, it's a beautiful Maywall from Kevster. The Maywall comes right in the middle of like the amp matrix, and because of where the wall is and the percentage on the point, somebody needed a touch for the shock. It looked like there was a little bit of panic that they weren't going to be able to get out there and do it. FD God does, but as the Soul Lucy on the point, they lose him pretty quick. They lose the speed. Joy on the point also gets demacked. Not a lot they can do there.
Striker, they're calling for healing. There's a McCree on his right side. It's actually a May. I don't think he realizes that. Blizzard comes out. The Deadeye still gets Muse again. The focus on the main tank for the shock may pay off. Nero doesn't mind being frozen himself. Quite well acclimatized, apparently. And you saw amped healing come from FD God there as well, just to make sure the shock could sort of weather that storm, Matt.
They use sound barrier there, the Gladiators.
After they lost Muse, I think, as well.
And maybe it was to keep Space alive. Space was quite low, but a super with a shatter there looks like he got frozen mid-shatter. A sound barrier now here for the shock as well. This fight's kind of devolved into chaos.
That's messy. I mean, FD God goes for a beat. It works. It's not enough because Violet's immortality field is too far to the left. Super is just outside of it there, and that's what cost the shock in the end. Yeah, he would have lost the shatter anyway, but he may not have just got blown up so quickly.
So now the Gladiators get the payload moving. They'll have a Deadeye here from Birdring. It looked like they were trying to escort him up to the high ground. But the shock, unlike the Gladiators, when they went to go take the high ground had to double back because the payload had made it so far. The shock can fight for the high ground.
Nero, a little bit too close to the front line though. No immortality field and a gigantic shatter from Muse. Super's able to pick himself back up and find that kill, but the shock are no closer to gaining control of the card here. Violent though, looking dangerous, ever dangerous, this man. He's going to have to go back into the castle, and the whole time the cart seemed like it was moving. That means the shock. Yeah. Matt, they have to be awfully quick. They got one more fight here in this second part of the map.
Yeah, and Space will have a self-destruct, and then they'll also have a Blizzard, but Space gets so he saw it on his face.
He has to go for the self-destruct there. He needs the mech back now.
Yeah. I love the face cams. You could see there that just he thought he was gonna make it out.
7 points of health though is a pretty tight margin. Still, he's back in the fight. They don't have to wait. Oh my! Okay, that's a headshot through an ant matrix. Yeah, Birdring didn't stand a chance. Immortality field thrown down. Space is able to get rid of that, but has to trade his mech as a result. FD God goes over the edge. Normally it's his opponents. Look at how low Super and Chokyobin are, but that's enough. They'll stay alive, and another D-mech. Very undesirable there for Chokyobin, but he doesn't want to throw himself off the map. He fancies just stalling for now, and he'll go for a bit of a swim here.
He's going to go now. Yeah, he's going to go now. He knows there's the players on the Gladiators backing up, and you know, Space using the self-destruct there obviously wants to get his mech back as soon as possible. Doesn't want to like waste an eternity. But he would have loved to have self-destruct in this type of position where the card is. So much open space behind. We've seen so many plays in just Overwatch esports history, right? At this point with his self-destruct, big self-destruct shatter combos and whatnot.
FD God, I think he was hoping to drop down from above and get a large boop. Always thinking about the environmental kills this lap.
He's looking for one of those, I think it's Toby in the clip that we always use booping people off the bridge here.
Playing from the back here, Sound Barrier is available, so FD God doesn't want to play too high up, otherwise it takes too long for him to touch the ground and get the beat. Deadeye from Striker. Okay! For a moment there, it looked like it might be possible. There's the Shadow! That's a big one! 3 get knocked down by that one, and Birdring playing from a very safe position is able to still get Violet there somehow. That's big. Sound Barrier, though, got used by the shock, and that keeps him fighting fit for the time being, but FD God is the only healer right now, and he's gone.
I mean, he was just playing in the line of sight of the Amp Matrix at Birdring. You're not going to last that long there.
Not a coward, man.
They actually... No, definitely not with that type of play. Joy uses the self-destruct, and it's a beautiful Maywall from Nero that splits Muse off, and they deal with him right away, get him out of there. And the self-destruct actually demechs Space and launches him over the side. So take out both tanks early in that fight.
Okay, another amplification matrix instantly used. Maywall applied on the right side of it this time. Oh my god! That is disgusting! Muse straight on in, gigantic shatter. Still the shocker standing somehow, some way. but it's going to be a pretty easy cleanup now for the Gladiators. That is what you love to see. Muse waking from his cryogenesis, only to be told that he's a world champion. It's been 5 years. Nicely done. 2 minutes on the clock here for LA.
Oh, that was a sick shatter. The Maywall comes up, and I don't think the Shock expected the Gladiators to get aggressive around it. Like they just kind of expected them to play almost like that neutral game. And the speed boost comes around the corner, and almost like in a bumper-esque type of shatter, you know, the jump around the corner and just you know, pre-shatter there as Super gets quite low. Ant Matrix used here by
It actually looked like a bunny hop shatter. I don't know if that's what happened, but well, we'll see. Violet goes down, Immortality Field also removed. Birdring get a little bit too close for comfort, and Striker punishes him for that. Trichoban is desuited now, a minute 23 on the clock, and the Shock are pretty disparately spread over the end of the map right now, and Mock will be booping them away. Striker will be getting pummeled here by Muse, as it will be all hands on deck for the stall attempt here for San Francisco. Another nice shatter from Muse, though. Immortality Field needs to be dealt with first, though. And now the Shock are doing a good job of staying alive here, just dipping toes onto the point. We're going to go down inside a minute.
Yeah, sound barrier used here for the Gladiators because they know they need to get this across the line. There's so many players coming out for the Shock out of the spawn. That's a nice breakup of the Deadeye there by Birdring. Is Ant Matrix used to trying to keep Muse alive desperately. This will be a self-destruct. Players from the Gladiators have to get around the wall. Now it's going to be the Blizzard that comes in from here.
And Muse couldn't get away from that one. That Deadeye from Striker does get interrupted, but it buys two crucial seconds, enough time for Super to come back onto the point and San Francisco to get their numbers. Now, there's even a question about whether the Gladiators can finish the map at all, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, what? It was above a minute when they got there towards the end, but just fantastic stall there by the Shock. Shock have no ults to work with. Blizzard here from Kepster, so should be able to get it across the line with the Blizzard, but you know, Shock are so good at just disengaging from some of these fights. Deadeye around the corner to kick things
Maywall
off.
a problem, Birdring patient, so patient. Kepster down though, Striker finds him. Looks like he pushed a little bit too far and the Immortality Field wasn't in quite the right place. Super, Mary Poppins as he holds the shield to the sky, but it doesn't save Violet or Trichoban in space. A gigantic self-destruct guarantees the Gladiators a chance to stay in this map right now. Yes, they'll be playing from behind, but they're still in this.
Oh, Striker almost clutched that so hard. When Kepster turned the corner around the Maywall and go drop his Blizzard, just gets headshot, just taken out instantly there by Striker. Huge self-destruct from space to push it over, but man, not having that Blizzard there towards the end gets really scary there for the Gladiators.
San Francisco, I mean, their attack looks really good, and they're really able to slow things down just in front of this doorway here. You know, they're cycling ultimates, whether it's Sound Barrier or whether it's Amplification Matrix. Both of those support ultimates generally sort of heralded a difficult fight to come for the Gladiators, who almost managed to get past this most difficult part of the map, right? Because they took the high ground control and got the cart close, but they just let the Shock get just 1 foot in, just a crack in the door. And that was all San Francisco needed to really punish. So now, 4 minutes is what they had to work with. Here's how that last little fight went down. This is that Muse sort of gets blown up, and that's what Kepster, that's how he falls to his demise. Here's the bomb over the top, man. Oh, the boot!
That is sick, and that comes right after. Kevster ends up trying to use his Blizzard and it gets taken out. So that's huge there to be able to pick up these kills. Gladiators they're gonna need a tremendous effort on defense, man. 3 minutes and 50 on the clock for the Shock to take this.
And you'll see the Shock. They'll play close. They'll throw Maywall up. They'll try and isolate Muse. See Muse. Look how passive this is. He won't challenge. He won't move up to sort of the broken turret. And so a lot of space given to the Shock here. There's the Maywall. Muse again being pressured.
It's kind of the name of the game right now, right? Try and separate players with these Maywalls. Eliminate how effective the Immortality Field can be. And really run down the Reinhardts. So that'll be an early pick. So it'll back the Shock.
Oh my! Oh my!
So they get Kepster. So. And the benefit of the Shock is having so much time to work with, right? Now you can start to just work your way up towards the point. That'll be the Ant Matrix in the high ground from Shu, but it may not be enough.
Yeah, I mean, an attempt there for Birdring to go for a flank with a Biotic Aura pop by Violet keeps him alive under the scrutiny of McCring, and now Striker's going to flash fan his way. I mean, I think Sominsu's ears are burning right now, but it doesn't matter. San Francisco look extremely good when we move away from that sort of control game type. I would say, pretty one-sided performance here on Eichenwalde.
Really dominant performance from the Shock. Tremendous plays to stall it out. Gladiators needed like a Herculean effort there from space with the self-destruct to get it across the line. But the offense from San Francisco, no defense offered by the Gladiators. They just got rolling. It's at a tremendous time. That was going to be difficult to beat no matter what.
That striker's pretty nasty. I can tell you from the cards, he gets 26% of his team's hero damage. Violent also, huge healing output, like 24k over the course of that map, which wasn't a particularly long one. So that should tell you just how much of a difference he is making. San Francisco, maybe some substitutions here, as I saw Nero type buy in match chat. And we may see a different DPS now step up and jump in for San Francisco, but we'll have to wait. On the other side of this break, we'll have map number 3 and a chance here to see one of these teams try and set up a match point. We'll see you in a moment.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest and fastest 5G network. Set your sights on the competition with T-Mobile. And by State Farm. For auto, home or renters insurance, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
good day of Overwatch. New York kick things off with a bang.
Tuba, does he get rid of Masa? Come on. He'll get rid of Kodak. Do I see a Hawkeye? Oh!
Wait, what? Are you serious?
What's that? Oh dear. In the block. That's the Deadeye.
No. Unbelievable.
Yes! Come on! I don't believe what I have just seen! Raw! That is absurd!
That is exactly what the doctor ordered.
And despite their best efforts, the Chengdu Hunters are done.
Huge decay, he's charged up, there's another Graviton Surge. He doesn't even need it to connect. He'll fall by the hand of a former comrade. And 2 decay.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Pringles. Stay in the game.
Hi, I'm Matt Morello. The Overwatch League and T-Mobile have given me this time to talk about something that's near and dear to my heart. Overwatch League Perks by T-Mobile. Perks are a special bonus for tuning into the Overwatch League and are a fun way to earn in-game rewards while watching your favorite Overwatch League teams compete. This year, you'll also earn great perks like skins and sprays for tuning into tournament weekends. But lately, there's been a dark scourge on our channel. Spamming the chat with exclamation point drops and exclamation point tokens does not in fact earn you any Overwatch League perks. The way to earn Overwatch League perks is by clicking down below and connecting your YouTube account to your Battle.net account. It's just that easy. Do you or a loved one feel the urge to spam exclamation point drops or exclamation point tokens in the Overwatch League chat? Stop it. Get some help. Click right here. You can start earning Overwatch League perks by T-Mobile right now. Don't blow it. I'm Matt Mr. X Morello. Thank you for watching.
Requires Overwatch. Centers must be redeemed in-game on or before 12/31/2021. Terms and conditions apply. See official rules for details.
I have to say, Matt, your skin looks resplendent in that particular video. I don't know what your regime is, mate.
What do you mean?
You must be moisturizing, mate. You look absolutely radiant.
Yeah, we've had a lot of time to get ready for the season. Those videos were a ton of fun. Fish, one of our producers, he's actually the one on the computer.
In the Outlaws. I love it. I love that he's an Outlaws fan.
Yeah, put himself in the video. Just really funny with a lot of the stuff. That one, I remember we were talking about it, and it was like, I want to do this kind of like PSA thing, and I was like, is this gonna what is this gonna look like? And then I saw it, I was like, yes. The hardest part was actually me finding a button.
I believe that, yeah.
I remember he was like, do you have any shirts kind of like this? Another video you're kind of like spoofing on. I was like, no.
I mean, you know what? I reckon Moth has a few button-up shirts. He looks like a very sensible young man. Your Indeed player resume features none other than Moth here, and I mean, this is quite the pedigree here. Twice league champion, an all-star in NA, of course. Mayhem LA Countdown Cup champion with San Francisco last year. He was a role star in 2019, and in 2019, a World Cup champion, one of the most hyped World Cups, and one of the strongest USA teams that we'd ever seen. This guy's insane. He came onto the scene as quite an understated, softly spoken individual. Didn't talk any trash at all. Was just really level-headed. So we didn't really know what to expect from him. But I mean, man, in the game, he's just like a straight savage.
And not a bad resume to take to other teams to secure the bag. Pretty strong resume for Moth. But a really kind of like quiet, soft-spoken type of player. I remember when we were doing do you remember before the homestands, Moth had like built himself a full computer rig to like bring to his hotel room to like play ranked all across the country.
There's like this whole setup he had going on. The computer was like yay big, right? He could fit.
Yeah, it was very, very tiny. Yeah, you could fit it in like a backpack almost.
I love that. Or just a wall ride in the skybox in high sort of top 500 ranks. Unreal respect.
Yeah. Really just want about the grind and trying to bring some of that championship pedigree that he got with the Shock, and then some of the ones with Team USA over to the Gladiators, who have the last few years really kind of been on the cusp of top. They're really kind of sitting in like your upper echelon of teams, but never kind of approaching that like top 2, 3, 4 with real kind of championship goals, like realistic ones. This year they definitely are, and I think Moth really kind of bringing that
Yeah,
to
and
them.
you've seen his impact already, I think. Setting up that huge self-destruct, which is kind of what keeps them in the game on Eichenwalde. There are a lot of subs going on right now, so we are buying time. That's why we're back on camera. We actually have a role change as well.
There's a sub, yeah, that if it goes through will be quite interesting to talk about. The next map we do have will be Gibraltar. I mean, there's one that when we go to it, you will probably be surprised. As I was quite surprised. I looked down and I was like, that can't be
I mean,
right.
just think about it. Think about it, chat.
Looks like
what player on the Shock, and it's not super, could be the product of a role reassignment during the course of a series?
I want to see this. I want to see what happens with this. If this sticks. So right now we sit 1-1, map 1 very close, back and forth. The Shock use really interesting composition with McCree, Soldier 76. They put that away for map number 2. They look really strong playing the Rush style composition with Super in the mix. And then now we go over to Gibraltar, all tied up at 1 apiece. Just waiting for some of the subs to get flushed out. So you can see for the Gladiators, Skewed comes back in, Birdring, Kevster in the mix. Mirror moves over to Tank. That's not the one we're talking about. Twilight comes in for the Shock as Violet moves over to play DPS. So we've seen Violet play tremendous on the Batiste and Zen and all the supports in the past. I am interested to see what the Violet DPS looks like. Oh, by the way, we have Glister coming in as well here for the Shock. So our first look at Glister on the
Obviously,
Shock.
Hugely talented individual who initially sort of getting his run with the London Spitfire, a team who had a tall order. I mean, competing over in the APAC region last year. They're up against some of the very best teams in the world, and Glister really started to emerge as a true top talent.
Can you imagine, Mitch, if the answer for their hit scan after, losing Aunts is to just play Violet as the Widow player?
Yeah, you have Twilight, by the way, incredible, literally,
who's like an MVP candidate.
Incredible flex support player, just sat there waiting. This team is just, I don't know, man.
If we get a Violet Widowmaker battle against Birdring here,
dude, I can imagine.
That is
I know
what
Jonak is sitting here like, oh, for Christ's sake! Now I guess I have to pick up DPS now, just to turn up. Sorry, Guangzhou, yeah, you're on the bench again. It's my time.
Jonak's calling up the NYXL headquarters, being like, get another flex support. I'm playing McCree. Who knows what happens here?
Well, as we jump in here, it will be the Los Angeles Gladiators on defense. Of course, our map leaderboard presented by Xfinity. You can see that the Shock have the fastest time on Gibraltar ever. A 4-minute 30 time bank in their back pocket. So bear that in mind. The Gladiators on the receiving end of a dropping by the Titans back in 2019. That is 2019 Titans. Let's just be clear about that. So, yes, probably won't see that repeated again. But San Francisco will be on the offensive side here. So Mira, we saw this actually role change for the Gladiators last year. They're one of the only teams that did this. Mira would go over to the Zarya. So this is what the double bubble setup looks like for Los Angeles now as Birdring will be on the Sombra. But, I mean, you talked about Jonak McCree. We get Violet McCree. One of the best players in the world now, debuting on DPS here in the Overwatch League. Oh my.
What is the thinking behind this? So we'll see Violet, take control of the high ground. He'd be very aggressive. I mean, he is frontline here as McCree, but
are you saying what's the? Oh my! Okay.
Okay.
Instantly takes a head off Birdring.
All right, so he gets 2 here. Rips Birdring's head off. Is Mira able to get 2 in return on the Zarya? So both teams playing that Winston Zarya double bubble setup as Birdring switches off of the Sombra straight away. He'll go over to McCree. So he is not going to be one-upped by Violet.
He might still.
Playing the same
role.
role.
He might still. We'll see. Violet looks pretty good in that first little engagement. Small sample size and all that, but the payload has already moved through the car wash. So great start here Smurf just dives very deep on in. And Violet finds Mirror here as well, causing some serious... he doesn't miss.
I mean, the
he
guy
doesn't
is
miss.
insane
What
aim.
is going on?
I mean, the guy is insane aim. Like, this is a... If you're the Shock, this is a tremendously good problem to have. You can just put him wherever you want, and he seems to just have the magic. Is Twilight up here on the high ground with FD God is Twilight, like you mentioned. You know, this guy was a former MVP candidate with the Vancouver Titans. They bring him in. He plays a bit last year, you know, in double flex support lineups. But you know, when we talk about Violet, the one hero that you know they don't play him a ton on is the Ana. So you can put him on McCree here when you bring it in the Ana. Very interesting. Kempster though with a big 2K with the pulse bomb.
Yeah, perfect timing.
They only get both supports.
That's exactly what the Gladiators needed here. It looked like it could be pretty dangerous, obviously, with Smurf in close quarters with a nano boost. Primal Rage also used by him to sort of get out. Doesn't really get as much done as he maybe would have liked there, but that's fine. The Carts made some decent progress here. And the Gladiators, though, they have a nano boost of their own, Muse also with Primal Rage. So we're dealing with a lopsided Winston ult states right now. They're happening on sort of subsequent fights. We're going to see the dive in anyway. Violet now gets himself a Deadeye. Probably more effective, actually, if he can just click people's heads normally, but that's by the by. FD God goes down as Muse didn't even have to get nano boosted for this fight win, so that's a big result for the Gladiators once more.
Yes, this is so hard to break when the opposing team gets high ground on top of the ship. Trying to get up there, especially you know with McCree and then how kind of healthy McCree is right now. Very difficult to break this. Maybe need even like a a longer range option, I guess, for the Shock. You would look at potentially bringing in like an Ashe into the mix, but be a Deadeye from up top. Nice knockdown as that'll be Birdring who takes out Violet.
Yeah. Twilight trying to keep his main tank alive, and Smurf gets a nano boost towards the top. This fight is far from over. Smurf is going to have to drop down. Even with the damage reduction, he's taking a beating from Birdring on top of the shuttle. Still, that cart's been allowed to make some progress now. Smurf again, just a drive-by to the high ground, confirms there's enough players to justify the use of Graviton Surge now, and Trichoban is extremely charged up, ready to rumble, and the Gladiators are getting pushed back into their own spawn now.
Smurf gets a bubble, takes some of the high ground here, as the Gladiators should be able to contest, as, yep, that's going to be Kempster getting onto the point. And when he recalls, it looks like there's a Smurf jumping to the high ground, kind of body blocks some of the rest of the players. Not able to get there as Violet on the McCree has been absolutely lights out.
You wondered why. So, like, obviously this team has Striker, who we saw play McCree. He looks very good on that McCree in general. You wonder why you make all this song and dance about such a big substitution. I mean, Violet has definitely not disappointed anyone since he's come in here on this role. Obviously, there's a lot of risk associated with playing McCree in this sort of metagame. Dealing with so much dive, so much attention. And again, see, Mira and Muse, they're coming for dinner. Violet's able to drop off the high ground here, and the Gladiators are going to be happy with that. But the cart's still moving here, whilst they're being kept busy by Smurf.
Yes, they wrap around the opposite way. This is a Deadeye that comes in from Violet as well. He's going to get X1. This looks like an all-Shock yet again.
Oh, wow.
So they should be pushing the cart through. That's a 3:20 they complete it on the clock. And, last year, obviously, we saw Super on the Genji. He looked good when he was playing Genji. I think this is obviously a much different type of thing where, look, you can build this team around Violet. Like, if you're going to play Ana and Break, like, he's good enough to where you can say, hey, focus on your, McCree, Ashe, Widowmaker, and when we have one person on the map who's going to play those and we have Ana in the mix, like, you're in, right? His aim is that
They
good.
obviously think that he can have enough impact on
filthy
Baptiste to justify keeping him in the support role for that. But obviously Ana, especially against Winston and Xayah, struggles to have a ton of impact. I mean, you keep her for, obviously the nano boost, and, she has decent throughput, but a lot of the time she can be shut down by Winston just putting a bubble down, or Xayah sort of bubbling someone as you try and sort of, sleek them. So maybe the Shock just feel like they have a better impact on putting Violet on McCree on this map, as opposed to sitting him on Ana. We know Twilight's an incredibly good flex. This is the crazy thing, is that their backup flex support player is like a starting player on any other roster in his league.
It's also a map where you're not going to ask your McCree player to play like anything else outside of like another like long-range hit scan. And we also just don't really know what Violet's DPS pool even is. I mean, we never had to ask that question, but with how good his aim is on support, and we talk about like how much damage he always puts down on like the Batiste or the Zen, him picking up like McCree, Ashe, and Widow is not a crazy thing.
Well, not now based on what we've seen so far. Now on defense, Violet will be having to do his best to dodge the attentions and affections of Muse. And Birdring has already got himself embedded within it, behind enemy lines now. Who gets hacked here? I feel like Violet... Probably not. Okay, yeah, so he's able to get Glister, who we haven't talked about much at all because the focus has been on Violet so much, but Glister's hacked for the time being. Violet, so much trust in his backline here. Look at how aggressively he's playing, despite the fact that he's eyeing off 2 main supports here. Big sleep dart across the map.
They'll protect him though. He does get biotic grenaded. He's gonna have to fall back from that high ground, but Cart still moving. This is a lot like how the Shock's offense was, but they're gonna lose Shu, so that's a large chunk of the healing here for the Gladiators.
San Francisco must be aware of this. Yeah, they've actually stopped the cart pushing now. It has made its way through this underpass for the most part. They're still going to have to be wary of Birdring and Kevster, who can both quite easily slip past their detection nets. That's why Violet's setting up on this corner facing the opposite direction now. Kevster up on the cart. All right, Violet, you get what you want, mate. Yeah, whatever you want on a silver platter. Glister now hacked again on the cart. So annoying trying to deal with Birdring now. He's making the Tracer for San Francisco Shock life pretty hard. Smurf is close, though, to a Primal. Look at how much charge he just got there.
For a second, though, I thought when he jumped up and kind of clipped those boxes, I thought he was in a lot of trouble. As Muse, he's going to get stuck inside of a grab. They don't... Oh, they end up using the Nano there. So they end up using the Nano to boost the Gladiators. Yes, doesn't really result in much. So 2 minutes on the clock, Primal for both sides. Birdring with the EMP. We'll see where he decides to use this. With the Shock playing a little bit more like spread out, maybe you try and EMP Smurf if he like goes in a little bit too deep before he gets the Primal off.
Watch out for FD God. I was watching old Contenders Korea highlights last night. Yes, saw plenty of Sombras get interrupted trying to go for those EMPs. FD God sitting on Twilight again, as you'd probably expect, so a little bit harder for him to stop the Sombra from getting a big ultimate here. I mean, he's everywhere right now. Graviton, and he catches Glister. That's probably not enough. Okay, EMP catches a lot, but Smurf is Primal Rage, and this is about to get really nasty now. There's about to be some gizzards hung on the walls, but the cart gets to the point there. I think it's San Francisco. Slight oversight, perhaps. Slight.
Everybody was so into that fight on the high ground, they forgot that there was an objective.
They just love the game, Matt. Can't take it away from him.
Yeah, too much Warzone in the offseason, you know, forgetting that there's objectives in this one.
I mean, speaking of the Gulag, I'm pretty sure Krusty's thinking of trying to send most of the team there after that one. Not what San Francisco are looking for.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll be one that they'll get the replay code for and go back and watch.
Yeah, nothing but a replay code in DMs from Krusty for your perusal.
Although that fight does give the Gladiators a lot of high ground control that the Shock did not have. This is where the Shock, really a lot of their time in their offensive push was kind of wasted, stalled. You see the Mirror just gets burned down quick. Those are shots from Violet in Twilight. Big pulse bomb here from Glister.
This is a tough...
Okay, so now they get a hold.
This is a tough part of the map to play from by Xayah, right? Like, we're watching Mirror's perspective, where there's, like, people just jumping on top of him, paratrooping down, and he's like, well, I mean, I used my bubbles eons ago.
Well, also with playing Sombra, not playing, like, a McCree or anything like that on offense, you're also banking a lot on the dive and being able to get up to that high ground, access it, and move Violet off of that power position.
So how does Mirror get up there, outside of going the really long way?
I mean, the idea is just bubbling the Winston in, right? The Winston being able to put enough damage, enough pressure, maybe with Birdring. But you don't have like a hit scan to take them out.
Okay. Big tickle there from Smurf. He'll get a bit more. Oh, the Biotic Grenade as well.
They're so weak.
The Gladiators now.
They're going to live.
This is the Hotel California, by the way. You can check out any time you like, but you can never leave. They are stuck in this stairwell for the rest of time.
He goes in there with the Primal. could be filthy.
No, just don't. I mean,
Violet is taking Kepster out straight away the last two.
They are legitimately stuck on that stairwell until they deal with Smurf. He has Primal. Oh, this is so wrong. Smurf is going absolutely wild. It's monkey magic in the stairwell, and the Gladiators were held there for 20 seconds, and now they're just getting embarrassed by this man. That's wrong.
That's just a casual 4K and a smile there from Smurf. He doesn't even look happy or thrilled. He just taking care of business there.
He is absolutely Bill Dippely.
All right. 6 ults here for the Gladiators. EMP. This is the fight. The bad part is where the card is. There may be one more fight after this fight, but Birdring, is he going to try and... No, not going to be able to translocate up top.
Mira's dead. Mira, okay. Nano boost there. Zaya. Okay, grab on Glista. Glista's just... he spent most of the round suspended inside these Graviton Surges, poor guy. Mira going to go forward now, looking pretty well charged up here. Takes a bunch of damage. Very low, and Violet is absolutely unhinged, Matthew. This is ungodly. A sensational McCree performance from a player we've only ever seen on flex support.
Oh, my. People probably going to want to see him go back to flex support. They don't want to play against this. I mean, just absolutely on fire on the McCree. Violet. I mean, this is against the Gladiators. This is against Birdring, Kepster. Like, this is a crazy good performance from Violet.
3 seconds left, Matt. Time is ticking. Smurf is at it again. Okay, slept. That's going to slow him down for the time being. Birdring switches to the McCree, gets rid of Violet. Biggest threat, or the shock, arguably taken off the table, but Smurf swings. The Flying Fists of Fury are back again, and no one can shut down this Winston. Smurf, he'll have his cake, he'll eat it too, and then he'll have the whole bake shop for himself. That's how this man operates. We're in overtime, but Mira's gone down. He'll get the stick, but Smurf is still alive. Scoot's forced to back away, and Violet is back on the scene. That bubble won't last very long. A reload now, and Kevster better make himself scarce because the sheriff's in town. He's looking for his next victim. In San Francisco, convincing victory on this third map now. That was just filthy.
Yeah, and the Glads look a little bit stunned of like, okay, what was that? As that might not be something they've seen in scrims. As Smurf comes in, plays the Winston at an extremely high level with Twilight on the Ana. You know, Glista was very good on the Tracer. We just didn't talk about it a lot because Violet was just putting in so much work on the McCree.
Also, Glista's getting solo grabbed like Violet 3 times, so poor guy.
Yeah. As Violet goes from flex support the first 2 maps, where we traditionally see him, over to DPS here in our third map, he pops off.
I mean, I'm seeing a lot of people getting up out of chairs, so expect to see some more substitutions now, but I imagine if you just do this to Violet and put him back on, it's probably going to happen. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, take a deep breath now. San Francisco shop carrying on that form from 2020. Let's see if they can finish the series, or if the Gladiators can stay alive.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
super scrappy fight to get with the SS Shock because they're a very confident team. They always play confident. You know, we've versed them a lot of times, especially at the start of the season. So we're just gonna make it a good one. It'll be a really close match, and we'll see you guys there. Okay, I'll see you, Super. Super, I will see you there. You better not be on Zarya because that's gonna be big Zarya diff. Just stick to Ryan, brother.
I mean, yeah, Super sat there like, I got my boy Trick open in the back. I think I'm good. Yeah, I might just stick to Ryan, Matt. I mean, so far, so good. The Shock, look, the first map was really quite competitive here. I think San Francisco maybe didn't show us all of what they were capable of. Obviously, different compositions on control, as is often the case. But the next two maps, the next two payload-oriented maps, just completely one-sided. And what's your take on this Violet DPS little experiment, Professor Morello?
It's legit. I checked Twitter in between the games, and he, I guess Overwatch League tweeted out like, hey, like, let us know who's going to be like the best DPS player this year, and he quote tweeted it and said Violet, which is looking pretty good. We can take a look at his McCree from the last map. I mean, just the amount of final blows is crazy. The headshot accuracy, but just like going up, I think it's a different level, right? Of like, they're going against a team who a lot of people were putting like #1 in their power rankings, like top 3 at worst. Birdring, who's like a legend of the game, Kepster, who we expect to have a huge breakout year, and he was like on par, if not better than a lot of them in that map. It just wild. I think I saw McGravy. I was like, whatever Violet gets paid, pay him more. It's like at this point, what can he not do? I mean, the guy's unreal.
This is San Francisco Shock as a team, and yeah, Violet as an individual, kind of showing us that there's yet another level. You know, two pro players, right? Here's the your accolades for San Francisco Shock. I mean, first Grand Finals 2020, 2019 Grand Finals, Countdown Cup, May Melee, 2019 Stage 2 playoffs, as if we had to dig deep for more accolades. We're 2019 Stage 1 and 3 playoffs, they were second place. So, I mean, it has been a consistently upward trajectory. And let us not forget, first season of Overwatch League, this team is middling at best, right? They've got like Nomi, Tank, Dak on like Mercy, and they're getting run over by cars on Oasis, and it's just an absolute mess. This team, obviously, they invest in the long term in players like Super, who's yet to come of age, and you've seen sort of the structure and the culture of San Francisco developed brick by brick over those years, and now it's a colossus. And you know, just when we thought the series might be close, might be competitive, some of the more edgy people out there are sort of expecting the Gladiators to win. It may not be the case at this rate.
It still might. It still might. As the series is, at least in my opinion, definitely not over. As we move into the next map, it'll be Hanamura. This is one where the Gladiators can definitely come out on top in, right? They go back. Can't see it right now as we take a look at Smurf, his stats, but we do have a lot of subs coming in for this next one. Smurf was pretty good last year.
Decent, yeah. Not bad.
I think this last year was such a difficult year to pick like the MVP of the entire league. Smurf, Fleta, Violet, Void was up there. You know, Carpe got a lot of love at the beginning of the season. We don't talk about Smurf enough, I feel like. I mean, look at I don't even have to tell you, look at the stats. You know the ranks, they all say #1. Just a tremendous difference maker for this team.
I mean, I think we saw it as well in that last map. You know, we saw Super play Ryan and Winston in map #1, and that was fine. I mean, he looked pretty good. Yeah, they didn't win the map, but I mean, they looked pretty good across of it. Smurf clowned on the Gladiators in that last map, especially, you know, in the shuttle phase when, you know, the Gladiators are trapped on that stairwell. Smurf goes in there first, but he goes in there with a nano boost, right? So, okay, you know, goes in there, tickles a little bit. He has an ultimate. Then he uses Primal Rage. Then he stays alive. Then he gets healed up. Then you see them just, you know, like, he gets like, what, four players on that Primal Rage fight. And that was like 30 seconds plus that the Gladiators just experienced complete domination. Like, talk about getting worked in the neutral. That is like the kind of thing that you don't soon forget as a team.
And we don't talk about like trades a lot because there aren't. I mean, there are a bunch, but really kind of like 1-for-1 type of scenarios.
Do you mean as in like off season?
You know, Smurf.
Or
yeah, Smurf comes over to the Shock via trade with the Outlaws, I believe. It was like a Dante for Smurf.
Yeah.
Deal that happened, it's like 2 years ago now. Where both teams probably feel pretty good about that. Like, the Outlaws got a player who they can clearly build around for the future. Yep. Yeah, franchise player. The Shock, they solidify some holes they may have felt like in their, front line, and get a tremendous tank player in return. But there's rarely trades where you look at both teams and you're like, we're both kind of happy with that. It's looks like we're waiting for a few players on the Shock, but we can take a look at the subs, right? So Mirror goes back to DPS as Space comes back in the off-tank role. Tells you we're probably going to see some more Diva action, or some Zarya, just the option to be flexible between the two. Kepster still in, no surprise there. Moth comes back in here for Skewed. And then over on the side of the Shock, Violent, he goes back to playing Flex support. Striker and Nero both come back in the action. Same with Super.
So it makes you think that, we might be seeing a little bit more of the composition that featured heavily in the first map, which is Reinhardt based, with Winston sort of mixed in there if needed. But, sure, we're going to get a lot of value out of Lucio here. FD God's definitely going to be looking to be dangerous on this next map. And Striker Nero, like we have McCree main, we have a bunch of different looks from those. The next map is going to be Hanamura here. And it's time to put up or shut up if you're the Gladiators. Again, you're a team that comes in from the offseason. That happens every year with this team. Super hyped up, right? They always come in super hyped up, sort of by fans and pundits alike. And again, you have a pretty hard ask to go up against a San Francisco Shock here, but your team on paper is extremely high levels, the best look you've ever had for this roster. And now it's time to deliver. Time to stay alive in this series here. And San Francisco put forward what might have been a weaker look for them over the course of this series, considering that they just dominated so hard with, Smurf at main tank and in that last map with Violet at the McCree role.
And now I think you see when Super coming back in, more Reinhardt play, right? This is where we'll get, like, probably what we saw closer to Eichenwalde in terms of composition. May tends to be good on this map whenever. So what do we got here from the Glads? Oh, that's not a May, and that's not Rush. That is El Presidente coming out the spawn.
And looks like Mirror is working up his aiming arm, because you definitely need plenty of that to play the Bastion. So
I am a Bastion expert.
I can't believe you did that to us last night. We did not win because you played Bastion. I'm going to give you the big tip, Matt. Oh, God. Queuing with you is just an odyssey. So we have double shield with the Mercy here. So Kevster's going to have a pocket. I wonder how San Francisco deal with this. They may have a Pharah of their own.
Pharah, Mercy, double shield, Bastion. Super comes out on the Wrecking Ball. I wonder if this is just to get a look at what they're playing and then go back and adjust. Yeah, that's what it looks like as Nero plays the Pharah. So Pharah Hanzo good at breaking the shields, putting pressure on the Bastion. This is going to be tough to get through the choke, though. Like, without a Lucio, like, what do you do here? You're really relying on a lot of the damage coming from the side, but you see the angle that Mir has put himself. Not able to get a lot of sightlines.
Yeah, it means even if Shock go to the right after sort of walking through, Mira has a good sightline just to sort of pepper them down. Nero's been quite annoying, though. Just peeking a little bit over the barrier, like this, right? Staying out of line of sight, quite patient from him, gets caught in a halt, though, and he's instantly removed.
No, his face when he died. What does Super even do down here? I mean, just kind of wait.
Not a lot. I mean, Kevster's just gonna harass them. Might have to go back to the choke. Maybe some switches here.
Should run. Yeah, he just gets back to the choke. So this is gonna be. Oh, how did he end up over there? Okay, well, Violet's dead. There's goes Choi. This is a brutal comp to play against. I'm just gonna be straight. This is tough.
I think he went to the high ground to try and help Super, and then got caught out by like a concussive blast. Either way,
and then
yikes.
All right, so everybody full strength now for the Shock. Where is so the Bastion looks like it's now set up on the top right high ground. Doesn't have a shield.
Okay. Mirror's down. It's traded, though. So Hanzo for Bastion. That favors the Shock here.
But you can res this, though, if you really wanted to, if you're the Gladiators. Yeah, they res the Bash.
Matt, they really wanted
huge
to.
part of the damage.
They really wanted to.
Yeah.
Nero, Groundhog Day for him. He's just getting picked up and put back down so many times. Dizzy. He's resed. Kevster playing, again, very safe angles as well, because he's pretty cognizant of the Hangzhou at large. And Nero has a barrage, but again, no real safe opportunity to make use of that. Okay, another kill. No resurrect available for the Gladiators for the next couple of moments here. Oh, the kinetic grasp. Oh, the barrage only gets Violet there. Big kill nonetheless. Still not enough to keep the Gladiators alive. And ultimately, the Shock come up with a pretty elegant solution to kind of a difficult problem.
I love Nero's face every time he dies. His mouth
It's
just
just
wide
jaw
open.
drops.
As, he actually tries to go for space. Yeah, the jaw drops. As this is going to be a Gravitic Flux from space. As Moth is here using the Valkyrie, so Gladiators may try and fight this again.
Striker, hard-ass Kier, has a Dragon Strike, so maybe you can create some space with this or find a kill, but really Kevster's been quite annoying on the point. Pretty hard for Striker hit. Okay, the Gladiators don't touch the point enough. Striker there as well is like, well, they got me, but we got through that Bastion nightmare.
Players still lingering here for the Gladiators. All right, there goes one. There goes another, but you have some players down. Nothing you can do here off of this. So the Gladiators do have to make some changes, though, with the composition. Mirror will play Ashe, which is interesting. Last year, we kind of really thought of and looked at Mirror as a flex DPS player, not somebody who kind of plays that hit scan. That's kind of when you have Kevster Bird Ring in. That'll be Kevster who falls here early to Nero on the Forest. So this is not looking good so far for the Gladiators here on point B.
Sigma Shield lasted all of 2 seconds. Sure, going to try and do the same here with the Amp Mage. Oh my, okay, Striker's able to find him there. FD got running interference. Good distraction, I guess. Muse needs to touch the point. He fortifies just to do that and shrug off the Earth Shatter, but still Super gets in his face. Stalling now on the point. Going to be very, very difficult for the Gladiators to pull up now. Kevster just sort of dashes on there and gets taken down almost instantly. Wrecking Balls here. Super playing behind Muse right now. We'll need a top up, but again, even with that Resurrect, very hard for the Gladiators to touch. And after a little bit of a slow start, which you would expect, considering that composition was filthy, the Gladiators eventually get pushed back into their spawn. And the second point we take.
I mean, there was no defense outside of the Bastion setup, right?
Yeah.
There was nothing really that the Gladiators did after that really kind of put any pressure on the Shock in terms of not being able to take the point and putting up a defensive stand. So we'll see what the Shock come out with on defense. I mean, do they play something like a Bastion? I mean, who knows? I don't think so.
The last time they did that, I reckon, was like Architect in the 2019 finals.
Oh yeah, that's true. We casted that where he went up on top of the chandelier. Yeah. Nope, they come out with a. This is what I expected the Gladiators to run. To play the McCree and May combination with the Lucio in the mix. So looks like that's what the Gladiators will be playing on offense, though. Outside of they won't have McCree because they don't have Bird Ring in, so they're gonna play Reaper, probably Reaper May Rush.
Yeah, looks like that. It's pretty likely. There's just no chance of really seeing Echo here for Kevster. Not against Striker on the McCree here. It'd be pretty unlikely. You just can't. You probably don't get much done. You can't really get a look in outside of Sticky Bombs. That's a cute little spot there from Trigoban. Great scouting opportunity here. So there's no way the Shock will be taken by surprise by what the Gladiators come out with. Do they stay on the sim?
I mean, we do see Symmetra get play here.
They're
quite
cheesing.
Often, being well, this is also really good against the May. May obviously puts a lot of walls at that choke, using the TP to get around.
Yeah, and they also close the sightlines on the McCree. Kind of hard for him to get good shots as well. Choi, he gets desuited on the high ground.
Yeah, just make it a fight over the point. You don't have to really worry about the McCree then.
Ever felt useless? Well, look at Choi right now. Mini Diva behind a May wall. Not a great place to be. Space able to find 2 quick ones here. And the Gladiators, they come up with a good solution. They bring the Symmetra out. That is a platinum ranked special, but it works just as well here as it did on that fateful night.
Well, look, when you have the May in the mix, like the Sim is a really legitimate pick, right? You bypass all of that. I like the idea of instead of just TPing straight to the point, they go to the high ground, take that right-hand side of the point, and really just turn it into just a game of control, right? With just that 1 point available.
So Moth's POV here as the point is being taken, and whoops. Yeah, you hate to see those. FD God getting a taste of his own medicine. Not nervous at all, Matt.
Amp Matrix on the high ground for both teams. See if Super can land this big shatter.
Very clever. The May is still behind him though, yeah. He's able to get the shatter off and buy a bit of time, but the fact is that Mirror is able to sneak in behind him. Great block on that shatter though. Perfect stuff. Muse just gets absolutely rolled there. Super eventually goes down. This Blizzard may not catch too many people. Striker gets rid of space after the D-suit now, and Blizzard ends up getting thrown into no avail. So Earthshatter, Blizzard, Amplification Matrix, Sound Barrier, all gone for the Gladiators.
It's so difficult for Super to play there up on the high ground against this Symmetra. Symmetra obviously is great at taking out these shields and just ramps up her damage on them. And with so much of that damage coming on through, the TP now to the left-hand side, very difficult for Super to just play kind of even neutral on the point or dealing up at close with the Reinhardt. As Striker will now play Doomfist. We've never really seen a ton of the Striker Doomfist. Where it looks like some of the players in the Shock really opened up their hero pools in the offseason.
Doomfist can have a lot of value here, even with the Symmetra wall in play. The McCree would have been pretty average to use at this point. Immortality Field has to be used for Super, and that sticks around quite a while. Super may have bitten off more than he can chew, though, when, yeah, Kevster is charged up and beams him straight on down. Trichoban still has a self-destruct here, but can't do much to stop Mirror from freezing his teammates. He'll take to the sky now. Mirror's very low with no ice block available, and Striker is back in the fight. It's a hard ask for the Gladiators to take the point here.
Yeah, no. I mean, two characters that are just so good at stalling with D.Va and May alive, especially when Nero has his ice block. As now you see Striker switch. So, like you had mentioned, get way more value of Doomfist when that Symmetra wall is up as soon as the fight is over and the Symmetra and the threat of the ultimate is gone. Just to change over right back to McCree.
Not something we ever usually see, actually, switching because of an ultimate in play. I mean, sometimes we see Zen players do it. I feel like we've seen them switch like Ana randomly for that one fight, just because they don't want to try and have to hide away. Either way, that's what we saw there. Super gets back behind the Amp Matrix. There's a May wall in the way that might make this a little bit hard, but Muse can't get off the edge. He's frozen on the corner. It looked awfully elegant there, but unfortunately, the Gladiators have nothing to work with. Again, Shu having switched to the Batiste. Amp Matrix is down. And that is another solid fight win. All that momentum early for the Gladiators is beginning to dissipate.
He's the FD God, just the difference that he brings, right? Just chasing all the way to the spawn. I believe he's going after space there. Thought he was weak, maybe enough to get a D-back.
No one knew who that guy was before he played his first game for the Paris Eternal last season. You know what I mean? Like, he not a known quantity at all. It just came out, and we interviewed him after that match. Like, you know, like, where the hell did you come from? That kind of thing. And since then, he's really stamped, he's really made it his own, I think, this role. And I think he's being able to be that kind of player that he gets involved in so many environmental kills and aggression. There it is, 2 down already.
It's another fight win, yeah.
And you don't have to do much more of it. Striker gets the space, right? You just put Super down on that ledge.
Yeah. It's so difficult for the Gladiators to like get control of that bridge area that by time they start to make progress doing it, you know, Striker has found a pick, which you give Striker that much time, he's eventually going to find those pickoffs like that on the McCree.
Well, the Gladiators just have to get up and do it again. Shu very quickly built another Amp Matrix. That is some of the silver lining here. Deadeye from Striker. Catches Moth! Oh my! That's a sound barrier off the table now. Super plunges head first into enemy lines. Sees that Immortality Field thrown down, so he backs up, gets healed, and goes again. San Francisco looking a well-oiled machine of destruction.
Mirror will make it out. It looked like a... That's
the old FD God.
Where you want FD God. Yeah, that's one where you want FD God to come back. You're like, okay, that's enough. He gets really
It's like
low.
that Arthur the Aardvark meme where he's clenched his fist. That's like Krusty when that happens, right? I just sees it going like,
yeah.
We talked about this. But great, I mean, great balance.
Hey, look, if he's going to do a lot of good with that, you got to take the good with the bad, right? Sometimes he'll get caught out. Kepser with a Deadeye. And this will be a Blizzard as well. So Blizzard plus Deadeye. And they trade.
Like
That's
Blizzard.
a trade that still, it favors the
I mean,
Shock.
Muse looks like he'd belong on top of a wedding cake and not on the battlefield right now because he is frozen in every one of these fights.
It's not much he can do either. I mean, look at the May walls from Nero. They've been tremendous.
Nero incredibly deft here. Kind of shying away from Western scrutiny. You know, spending a season over on the Guangzhou Charge. People don't really get a good read on this player now. They knew he was flexible. He was a really, you know, quite versatile DPS player. Today is astonishing. That wall is incredible. Muse, yeah, again, you're a cake topper, mate. Just get used to it.
We've talked about it a little bit, you know, amongst us, where, yeah, Nero is playing with Guangzhou for 2 seasons. And last year didn't get to play that much.
He's on team with Happy and Eileen.
Some visa stuff. Yeah, and splitting time with Happy and Eileen. This player's very, very good, and I think now you get to see is the Shock just finishing off the Gladiators here, just how good Nero can be.
The more things change, the more they stay the same. In San Francisco, just as lethal as ever, if not more, and Striker was a yawn. You cheeky lad. It is a 3-1 victory for San Francisco, and a great way to kick off the 2021 season.
And adding some of these new players to the roster, it just gives some more like life and energy to the team, right? I think you can only have so much motivation to come back and three-peat, but now you add some more talent, and you can play a little bit of a different style, right? You know, FD God, you can get really aggressive. You have, you know, Glister, Striker, Nero, Tayo. You also now show you can play Violet at DPS and bring Twilight into the mix. There's a lot of different playstyles that the Shock can throw at you now that it's going to be really difficult for a lot of these other teams throughout the whole year.
The Gladiators showing a decent amount of flexibility of their own. Mira can move across to play tank, he plays with Zaya, and they play the double bubble setup. They bring in Birdring here. But as far as depth is concerned, we are comparing a garden pond to the Marianas Trench, right? I mean, there is so much going on in the engine room at San Francisco. Krusty is not afraid to sort of break the mold and to challenge the rules here. The Gladiators have their best roster ever against any other team, and I mean it. Any other team, they probably look like really quite scary. But now what? Are they fighting for second place with like a Justice or something like that? You know what I mean?
No.
Like that's...
I still think this Gladiators team is going to be very good by season's end, and I actually think this loss is quite good for them. I think with everybody, you know, hyping them up with Scrimbucks and, you know, everybody talking about this team, you know, some people having them #1 overall, some people, you know, really kind of hyping them up as like the next in line. I think a loss like this kind of puts things a little bit like kind of like tempers those expectations a bit, where I think it's kind of be good for the Gladiators in the long term.
Put things in perspective.
I think having some of those... Yeah, I think having some of those unrealistic expectations, you know, to be the Kingslayers right off the bat, now kind of go out the window, and they can become another really good team, like the Justice, right? For as much hype as we've had with the Fuel and the Gladiators and some of these new teams, Justice, they've kind of gone under the radar where they put together a very good roster. I think that's where you'll see the Gladiators try and position.
We'll talk about that more in the future, but for now, our player of the match presented by Xfinity is the jack of all trades, master of all trades. It's Violet, who got to show up on the DPS in this series and looked astonishing, absolutely sensational. Again, small sample size, Matt, but you know, we know what this guy's capable of on Baptiste. It's almost like, yeah, he's a DPS player, a third DPS player on that role. Shift him over towards the McCree and get similar results out of this guy.
And, you know, this is just the first game of the season. Like, what else do we see them experiment with this? As he's such a good player, you want him in all the time. And now it's clearly you want him in regardless of what the role is, right? His McCree looked very good on Gibraltar. We know what he does in the Baptiste when he's on the flex support role. There's probably a little bit of just kind of like, I'm going to do this and be this good out of spite because I can, and basically force you to give me the MVP this year because I will be so good you won't be able to deny it. That's probably with the energy that Violet's coming to this season with.
No doubt about it. Obviously, yeah. I think that Violet is definitely in a position where you're playing McCree against dive compositions without Lucio, so your mispositioning is easy to punish, right? You know, Winston can really get up close to you and punish you quite easily. You know, you can get slept. Biotic Grenade is also just a death sentence in this game. Violet, though, isn't able to be punished or doesn't make any punishable moves more critically. You can see here, he has actually rolling forward on some of these opportunities. Looking for flashbangs here, and is just looking really, really dominant. Super was also able to show us as well. You can play that Winston quite happily. We know that he's a Winston. He played some Wrecking Ball as well for a time. But here's your stat card for Violet again. And we bring McCree on Gibraltar one back up again because it's sometimes we give player of the match to flex tanks. We gave a lot of player of the matches to Sigmas last year, but Vital on DPS is definitely what really earned him this accolade today.
I mean, even if you were to erase this and just his Batiste, he probably would have been the player of the match as well. I mean, it's a performance I don't think you expected, like, especially against a team like the Gladiators, right? We're hyping this match up as like the top 2 teams, potentially in North America, and he comes in and plays multiple roles at an extremely high level for a win today. Something we have not seen from really any other player.
And this stands this team in pretty good stead now as the main melee continues, right? They get rid of one of arguably the scariest teams in the league straight off the bat, and as they fight for seeding, you have to feel like the Gladiators are, one of those teams to really test their opponents. I'm pretty pleased to see the Gladiators play like this. In the past, the last time we saw these two teams go head-to-head, it was a 3-0. It was very one-sided. San Francisco definitely were just a cut above. We can now really see the improvements that have been made to this Gladiators roster, right? Some of the self-destructs that are being set up by Moth. Shu is extremely consistent, high performer in this series. I definitely put him on par with some of the top flex supports in the league. And this team demonstrates a lot of versatility when it comes to their DPS assignments. Birdring has a tough one today. He switches to Widowmaker just to try and shut down Violet, but the spotlight is really very much away from Birdring, and he's not really able to have one of those really like angry energy games. Do you feel like when Birdring comes in and he's sort of got this grudge energy going on, and he really delivers in those kinds of matches? But here he was definitely overshadowed, and I don't think he likes being put in the corner like that.
No, but I think, though, we are going to see a very strong Gladiators team, even in their next match this weekend. I think, probably a little bit more Birdring. You'll see Kevster really kind of come into his role, and this is a team that's going to be very good.
No doubt about it. Gladiators fans, keep those heads high, and for San Francisco, heavy is the head that wears the crown. We're going to jump now to our post-show, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for joining us so far for the first 2 matches of the 2021 season, a season that only promises to get better. Stick around, though, because we've got many insights to collect from our experts on a fantastic first day.
Welcome to the Watchpoint Post Show presented by IBM. We're joined by Violet, the star DPS of the two-time defending champions San Francisco Shock. 자, 바이올렛 선수, 제가 방금 소개를 할 때 제가 스타 딜러진이라고 이렇게 소개를 해주셨어요. 일단 소개 말씀 한 말씀 부탁드릴게요.
스타 딜러진 그걸 일단 더 해봐야 알겠지만 잘했다 생각합니다.
I'm not really sure if I could call myself a star DPS of the Shock, but I will continue to try my best. Alright, so my first question actually sort of loops into your introduction. You sort of came in as a DPS player on Gibraltar, playing McCree. Was that like a set strat for you guys, or were you just vibing? 일단 첫 번째 질문이 제가 방금 했던 그 인트로랑 좀 이렇게 연관이 돼 있는데 오늘 지브롤터에서 우리 바이올렛 선수가 원래 하던 영웅들이 아닌 맥크리를 들고 나와서 굉장히 좋은 모습을 보여주셨는데 그게 좀 어떻게 보면 팀적인 전략이었는지 아니면은 그냥 질게임 하려고 이거 한번 해보자 이런 거였는지 궁금하네요.
최근에 저희가 스크림에서 너무 성적이 좀 안 좋아가지고 그러면은 약간 그거에 대해서 좀 얘기를 하다가 너가 맥크리 한번 해볼래? 왜냐면 저도 이제 경쟁전에서 맥크리 1페이지 계정도 있고 지금 현재 그래서 해보겠다 했는데 제가 해보니까 팀 성적이 확실히 좋아진 거예요. 그 맵에서는. 그래가지고 이제 딜러를 하게 되었습니다. 질겜 픽은 아니었고 네.
Right, so starting off bottom line, it wasn't just for the vibe and just for the fun of it. So during our scrims, we've had some difficult matches. We've had some difficult time, and we were talking about what we should do. And I sort of brought up, and I was talking to the team about using McCree, and because I do play McCree on ladder, and also like I'm on the front page as a DPS player on Overwatch on ranked games. So the team asked me, do you want to try playing McCree? And then he did, and on that, so he's been using that strategy. It was sort of part of a strategy to use Violet as a DPS on Gibraltar. So he tried that and worked out, and that's how you got to play as McCree on Gibraltar for the team. All right, second question. How confident were you coming into this match? Of course, because Gladiators were always a good team, but with the change of the roster, and a lot of people are saying that they've improved and they are much more stronger than they ever were. Were you like really confident that you could get the win today? 일단 두 번째 질문은 글래디가 아무래도 이제 이번 시즌에 들어오면서 작년보다 좀 로스터 변경도 있고 또 많은 분들께서 글래디가 좀 더 굉장히 많이 세진 팀이다라고 사람들이 많이 좀 말이 있었는데 바이올렛 선수는 좀 이제 들어오면서 이런 확실히 우리 센쇼가 이길 수 있다라는 좀 이런 자신감이 있으셨나요?
글래디도 분명 멤버가 바뀌면서 작년에 비해서 더 멤버 쪽에 있어서 보강을 했긴 한데 저희도 이제 멤버가 새로 들어온 선수들이 있기도 하고 해가지고 솔직히 좀 걱정이 되긴 했어요. 왜냐면 작년 쇼크에서 우승하던 멤버들이 빠진 거니까 어떻게 보면 그리고 이번 새로 들어온 선수는 좀 그게 아니니까 그래서 좀 걱정을 하긴 했지만 그러니까 새로운 마음으로 그냥 우리가 하던 대로 하면은 이길 수 있겠다 이런 생각을 했었습니다.
Right, so yes, it is true that Gladiators, they had some new additions to their team, and they do have a better roster, stronger roster, but that also applies to ourselves. We do have newer players in our team, and I feel like because we had to let go of a couple players and add in new players, and really, and the players that left our team were really good, and we have a new team. So coming in, I was a little bit worried. But at the same time, our team mentality and my mentality was to, we're starting fresh, this is a new season, and let's just give it our all. And that's how our mentality was coming into today's match. All right, last question. You were actually an MVP candidate for last season, and unfortunately you didn't get the MVP award. But I'm assuming that you're going to, go for that MVP title again. What does it mean to you to try to win MVP this year? 자, 마지막 질문은 이제 작년에 바이올렛 선수가 이제 MVP 후보로 들어왔다가 아쉽게 받지는 못했는데 아무래도 제 생각에는 또 당연히 또 열심히 할 거고 MVP 또 후보에 올라갈 가능성이 크다고 봅니다. 발리 선수한테 좀 이 MVP라는 것 자체가 좀 어떤 의미가 있을까요?
그 MVP를 받게 된다면은 이제 오버워치에서 최고의 선수라는 증거니까 정말 받고 싶긴 한데 일단은 그냥 저희 팀이 일단 우승하는 거에 목표를 두고 일단 저희 팀이 우승하는 걸 목표로 두고 하다 보면은 받지 않을까 싶습니다. 더 그냥 일단 우승의 목표를 두는 걸로. 네.
Okay. 네, 알겠습니다. Alright, so of course, winning the MVP sort of, it's a hard proof that you are the best player in the Overwatch League. But I don't want to think too much about the MVP. Of course, I will try to get it. I will try my best. But I want to focus on our team, San Francisco Shock, winning the season again. So I feel like if I have my mentality and my focus and everything in our team aspect, I feel like MVP would sort of come along with it. All right. Violet, thank you so much for the interview and congratulations on the win today again. 발레 선수, 오늘 이걸로 인터뷰는 마치겠고요. 오늘 경기 승리한 거 너무나 축하드리고 또 다음에 뵙도록 하겠습니다.
감사합니다.
Alright, thank you so much. Alright, that is it for the post-match interview. Now, back to the desk. Alright, everybody.
Wow.
Thank you, Mr. Danny Lim Lim. That was an awesome interview. Yeah, what did you guys think? Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. We're just so stacked. Not just San Francisco Shock, it's also our talent. We got the best interviewer and then also the best analyst here on the desk. Like, yeah, it's incredible. Incredible stuff. Thank you so much, Danny Lim Lim. Guys, we heard it here from Violet. He stays humble, but he was fragging out all right. I think it's time to actually discuss the match at hand. Yeah. He is an absolute beast. Super made a very graphic post about it on Twitter. Go and read that as well after the show. I mean, it was complimenting him, I think. Yeah, anyway, let's talk about the match. I think watching this match, it was clear that both teams did have a comfort zone and reinforced. You were feeling that sweet, sweet rush, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, I think San Francisco Shock, when it comes to it, they are the best Reinhardt-centric team in the league. And it started out on Illios, like right off the bat. We saw that Super came out on the Reinhardt. They decided to play this double hit scan composition, while the LA Gladiators opted for a more Winston-style type of composition. Now, they did play some Winston as well, but overall, it did feel like San Francisco Shock, they wanted to lean towards rush, and even if they didn't rush with the Reinhardt, they played a more passive approach with Reinhardt. They prefer these concave fighting angles, where they had the hit scan players taking these wide angles to get to the Los Angeles Gladiators backline, or they pushed through with the power of Reinhardt, utilizing his melee swing to get the damage in. And they are just so dominant and really good when it comes to this composition. Now, they didn't win on Illios, but they pick Eichenwalde as a second map, and this is where you really see the power of Reinhardt shine on this home map, you might call it even. Super was really good throughout this entire series. Really impressed with what I saw from the San Francisco Shock. And if they're going to continue playing this way, it's going to be very difficult to beat them.
Yeah, I'm starting to regret my Gladiators pick, if not almost certainly regret my Gladiators pick at this point, because, like, you can't take anything away from the Gladiators. They did look very good, but they definitely were leaning more towards this double bubble style of playing the game. The only real time we saw them hard match up on these brawl was Eichenwalde and their second point of Hanamura, and that went heavily favored towards the San Francisco Shock. So San Francisco Shock coming out hot, looking very good on this brawl style, while the Gladiators, they're